Hey guys, as you may know, I post a lot of language videos, and specifically for English, Spanish, and French. But I don't have a lot of videos for the people that are starting from zero. So if you want to learn a language but don't know which one is perfect for you, well then watch this video, because I'm going to be explaining the easiest languages to learn depending on your native language and your learning style. Before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe, that way you get notified whenever I post new language videos. Before we start, let me quickly discuss with you guys what makes a language easy or hard to learn. I won't go very much in depth, but if you guys want me to make a video specifically on that and explaining it, comment it down below. So the first thing that makes a language easy or hard is whether or not it belongs to the same family as your native language. Because you guys may know that languages belong to this big family, then is then divided into smaller families and then smaller families. And of course, if your language belongs to the same family, then that means that it has some similarities in whether grammar, pronunciation, and roots, and all of that. Second thing that makes a language easy is the language complexity, because some languages are just harder or easier than others. For example, pronunciation, grammar, alphabet, all those things have a big role in the whole language learning process. So if you want an easier language, learn one and focus on one that is easier. And the third thing that makes a language easy or hard to learn actually doesn't have to do with the language, but with you. Because each person maybe has a language learning preference or something that they're interested in and something that they don't enjoy. For example, for me, I don't enjoy grammar. So I'd rather learn a language that has an easy grammar or has a grammar that is similar to my native language or the languages that I already know. On the other hand, vocabulary is super interesting. So even if it has a hard vocabulary, I'm going to focus and I'm going to try and learn that and give it more attention. So imagine for you, it's the opposite. Well, then try and focus on a language that might have easier vocabulary or pronunciation and maybe harder grammar. Okay, so the easiest language for English speakers is Dutch. I know, not what you were expecting, but Dutch is actually English's first cousin, which means that they belong to the same family or branch. Because of this, they share a lot of cognates, and in general, the grammar structure is very similar. And I'm not going to try and pronounce words in Dutch because I'm going to fail, but I'm going to put up a list right now showing you some words in Dutch and then in English to show you guys how similar they are. Because in case you didn't know, more than 1,500 words in the English dictionary are actually Dutch, which means that you only need to learn the basic fundamentals and then you're going to be able to start speaking and you're going to be able to improve super quickly. And now for my French speakers. If you want to learn a second, well, I guess third because you're able to understand this video in English, then I recommend Haitian Creole. Why? Well, because it has a lot of French vocabulary, which makes the language very easy to learn. But of course, it also has some differences, which makes the whole language learning process very exciting and intriguing. I'm going to put up some words in Haitian Creole and French so you guys can see the similarity between them. If you speak Spanish and you want to move to another country, then I recommend the Philippines. That is because you're going to be able to learn the local tongue with ease. Tagalog has very similar vocabulary in everyday items and just common words, and some are even the same compared to Spanish. Let me show you some examples. Now I'm going to be covering the top 3 languages that I recommend for people that want to learn a language that doesn't have very hard pronunciation. Because some languages have a pronunciation that is so complicated, like French and Arabic, that makes the whole language learning process very challenging, which will cause you to have less motivation and that can eventually cause you to quit. And we do not want that to happen. The first one is Spanish. Did you see that coming? I know that Spanish is a pretty complicated language to learn, especially for English speakers because of the whole feminine and masculine, and then different grammatical structures and verbs. But if we're only focusing on pronunciation, then it's pretty easy, because you only need to learn the alphabet, then everything else just fits in place. The next one is going to surprise you, and that is Japanese. I know you did not expect that. So Japanese has gotten a lot of bad reputation among language learners. But again, if we're just focusing on pronunciation, it's pretty easy. Out of its 19 consonants, only a couple are rare among other languages. And 5 of its vowels sound very similar to Spanish. The third one is Italian. So Italian is pretty easy because most of its consonants and vowels or just common sounds can be found in other languages. And now I'm going to talk about the top 3 languages to learn that have easy grammatical structures. I'm going to have to learn some of these because I don't like grammar. But it's funny because out of all the languages that I've learned, none of them are on this list. The first one is going to surprise you, and that is Mandarin. I don't think I've ever seen Mandarin on an easy language list, but it's right on top for grammatical structure. That is because in Mandarin, most words only have one meaning. And the grammatical structure is very similar to other languages. So if you want to learn a language but don't want to learn a new grammatical structure and all of that, then Mandarin is the way to go. The second one is Afrikaans. So I recently talked about Dutch, but Afrikaans is super easy in the whole grammatical structure field. And for the third one, this one might have some controversy because some people don't think that's a language and that it's made up and all of that. And although it was made up, the whole purpose of this language was to unite the human race. Sounds like a pretty cool language to learn to me. And that is Esperanto. So this language has minimal grammar, easy rules, and a great thing about it is there are a lot of things that resemble other languages. And now for the bonus language. So this language is pretty easy to learn in general, and actually a lot of people learn this language, and that would be English. Now I do understand that most of you guys must already speak English or might be learning it because you are able to understand this video. But I want to quickly discuss with you guys why English is such an easy language to learn. That way you guys are going to be able to use this information, and maybe if you hear something that actually made learning English very easy, then trying to find that in another language. Does that make sense? Let me try and explain it in an easier way with the examples. So the first reason why English is such an easy language to learn is because it's gender neutral. What does that mean? Well, let's use Spanish as an example. In Spanish, you have feminine and masculine. If you want to say cat, you either say gato or gata, male cat or female cat. But in English, you just say cat. You don't need to specify whether or not it's a girl or a boy. Number 2, verb conjugation is very simple and easy. Now, I understand and I hear this a lot that English learners hate irregular verbs, and I understand. But in general, verb conjugation is very simple. You just either have to add an S or an ES. And just a little tip for you guys. I know that when you are in an academy, they make you learn a lot of irregular verbs, but just learn the ones you're going to use every day. Because as an English speaker, there are a whole bunch of irregular verbs that I don't use very often. The third thing that is pretty easy in English is nouns. Nouns remain the same, and it doesn't matter what the grammatical situation is, which is pretty easy and it's pretty helpful for English learners because that means that you don't really have to worry if you're messing up or if something's wrong. And for articles, it's also pretty easy. For indefinite, you only need to learn a or an, while indefinite, you only need to learn de. So in total, you only need to learn 3. Now compare that to Italian, wow. Well guys, I finally covered the easiest languages to learn depending on your native language and your learning style. Comment down below what language you're going to learn and whether or not this video helped you out to choose. Don't forget to like and subscribe, that way you get notified whenever I post new language videos. I'll see you guys next week. Bye!